Hi, everybody. It's Ciara again, here. Going to do another book talk. I am the teen librarian for Pueblo Library, working out of Rawlings, and I hope you all are having a good day. Today, I'm going to talk about a book called Shadowshaper. It's actually the first in a series, and it's written by Daniel Jose Older. It's fantasy, but also set pretty contemporary as it's set. And I'm just gonna go through a little bit about the main character and give you an idea of how it starts and how it starts to develop. But I'm gonna try not to give anything away because reading it is a great time to follow her as she makes discoveries. So the book is about Ciara Santiago, forgive me, please. She's a teen artist, and she's looking forward to a fun summer of making art, hanging out with her friends. She lives in a Puerto Rican neighborhood in Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn. Her neighborhood is also being sort of rapidly gentrified, which she and her friends mock, and yet sort of realize that it's really what's happening and that things are getting sort of crazy expensive in places. But usually she just sketches and paints, pretty small pieces until pretty much at the beginning of the summer, Manny, who does a couple of things. He writes the sort of neighborhood newspaper, and he also is the king. He's King Domino of the domino game that goes on pretty much all the time in this place called the Junkyard. He's an old friend of the family. That much she knows. And there's been this building built by these contractors, these sort of developers, and it's this like hideous 5-story concrete building that they built and then just abandoned. And everyone in the neighborhood hates it because it sort of, casts this shadow over what the rest of the neighborhood is all brownstones. And so you can't it blocks the view, and it's just this sort of nasty building, and they call it the Tower. So Manny tells her that she needs to paint a mural on the tower. And at first she doesn't want to. One, she's never painted anything that big. And she thinks about saying no, but then Manny says, well, if your grandfather could ask you, I'm pretty sure he would ask you to do it. Ciara's grandfather has had a massive stroke and is living in their house. He's not really very compass. If he were to ask her to do something, she would always do it. So she agrees to do it. And so she's painting the mural. She's doing a gigantic dragon. Sounds completely amazing. And so one day there's another mural on the wall of a brownstone, sort of right across from the tower. And it's been there for a decent amount of time. And she looks over and she realizes that it's fading. And the mural is of, let me get the name right, Papa Acevedo, who was sort of a past elder in the neighborhood. And he was always very kind to her, had a very warm expression, giving. And the original mural sort of captured his face, that sense of him, quite brilliantly. And, she's noticed that it's fading, but it seems to be fading faster than, a mural would normally fade. And she notices pretty early on that day, she looks over at it and she realizes that a tear has appeared in the corner of its eye. And that really freaks her out, right? I mean, fading murals are one thing, but when a new tear appears on a mural, that's weird, right? And later that day, she's looking at it again, and she realizes that the expression on the face has changed, and it's no longer the sort of warm, giving face that she always knew. It's sort of, it looks almost afraid. And then she sees that the tear actually runs down the face. This definitely, upsets her. She's very confused about what she's seeing. She's actually kind of confused to talk to anyone about it because she thinks everyone will think she's crazy. But she's meant to be going to a party, the first party this summer. And so she keeps getting these texts from her friend. Where are you? Where are you? Meeting you this time? Come on, come on, come on. So she goes home and she realizes she's got to ask, her grandfather about this. It's so weird. So she goes up to check on her grandfather, whose name is Lazaro. And he actually calls out to her in complete sentences. And he hasn't done that for ages. And so he calls out to her and puts his hand on her wrist. And he starts telling her these things that totally confuse her. He says things like, you have to finish the mural. You have to finish it soon. And when she's sort of like, but it'll take me all summer. And she, I can't finish it today. And he's like, no, but you have to finish it soon. Robbie will help you. And then he says things like, they're coming after us. They're coming after us. And he keeps using the word Shadowshapers. They're coming after the Shadowshapers. And then he keeps saying how sorry he is. Lo siento, lo siento. And she doesn't understand how all of this, what any of this means, really. She doesn't know who Robbie is. She thinks she knows who Robbie is, but she's not totally certain. She has no idea what a Shadowshaper is or who they are that are coming after us. She's confused and alarmed by it. And also confused that he keeps saying he's sorry. So she goes to the party and she goes looking for Robbie. Now, Robbie is a Haitian kid who's just drawing everywhere. And a lot of the kids at school kind of make fun of him because he's graffitiing everywhere. Like his clothes have graffiti on them and his backpack and his shoes, everything has graffiti on him. He's really into art. But he's a little, he's different from the other kids. But anyway, she goes looking for him. And she asks him to help with the mural and says that, her grandfather asked her to get his help. And he says, well, if Grandpa Lazaro asked me, then of course I'll help you. And she's sort of telling him she's very confused, and she sort of says the word Shadowshaper, and he seems to understand what she's talking about. But as they're talking and they're sort of under a tree away from the party, this middle-aged man, terrifying thing sort of clomps through the party, and everyone is spreading out because he's pretty creepy looking and he smells horrible. And he seems to have cataracts, these gray cataracts. And all of a sudden, Robbie sees him, and Robbie says, you've got to run. You've got to run. And so he takes off one way, trying to get the thing to follow him. He said, go over that wall and run. So she climbs up the wall and she starts running, and this thing is chasing her. This man that looks dead. It's like creepy looking, and it knows her name, and it keeps asking her, where is Lucera? Where is she? Where is Lucera? And she has no idea what this thing is talking about, but it's terrifying, and it grips her. And it's got this cold, dead grip, and she just takes off. And she manages to lose it and sort of makes her way home. And so anyway, she's got, these really strange things, sort of like all these weird clues around, and she decides she's got to pursue this. She's got to figure out what is going on, because her world is just turning upside down. Somebody just tried to get her that did not seem like he was alive, even though he had he looked sort of alive, but there was something deathly about him. And So she's got all these little clues, and she basically decides she has to follow these clues. She has to figure out what is going on. And so she, her mother, she tries to ask her mother what Shadowshapers are. Her mother sort of shuts her down, but in a way that she knows her mother's lying when she says she doesn't know. And so she can't figure that out. So she goes to Robbie, and Robbie has started painting another mural next to her dragon. And Robbie tells her, he starts explaining things to her, and that Shadowshapers can sort of translate spirit into form through their art. And he was actually taught by Acevedo, the mural that she first noticed, and she tells him about seeing it cry. And then he says, oh, you can see, because not everyone can see the life in these portraits. So she's working with him, and she's gathering all of these clues. And the more clues she finds, the more she realizes that something very dangerous is happening. And with her clues, with Robbie's help, with the help of her godfather, who is willing to sort of drive her places and get her places that other people wouldn't necessarily take her, and the support of her closest friends, she manages to get these little clues, get more of the clues, partially from her brother, partially from visiting her grandfather again. All these clues are sort of swirling around, and she starts researching them and digging in, and she ends up discovering the truth and secrets about her family's and the community's magic, what Shadowshapers are, also about this narcissistic anthropologist who has been involved with the Shadowshapers, but also has sort of pursued power and studies into the dark side of this magic, and another form of magic that is dark and dangerous, and essentially are these forms threatening to destroy her family and all of the Shadowshapers, and essentially her entire heritage, her entire sort of magic heritage from Puerto Rico. And she also must make a decision to accept her role in this world, which is a profound one, and a difficult one, and a frightening one, and fight for the survival of her world. So I don't want to give you any other ideas, because I want you to read it, because it's really exciting to put the pieces together as she's putting them together, and she makes some wrong steps, then realizes, but she's brave. She is, you sort of fall for her, you want her to find the truth, and you want her to prevail. It's a great read. It's developing, and you're learning more and more about this mystery that also involves this quite beautiful form of magic and a horrifying form of magic, sort of working against each other. And the sort of beautiful form of magic has to defend itself against this horrifying form of magic. So I definitely recommend it. And I don't know whether I will have time to check out the sequels, but I think it would be a great series to read. It ends sort of poised for what's going to happen next. And yeah, it's a great story. I love the cover. And it says on the cover, so it's a picture of Ciara with her beautiful afro and all those colors. And it says, paint a mural, start a battle, change the world. It's a great read. I definitely recommend it. Check it out. Now, not on the topic of reading, or related, but I do want to, as always, make sure that you know that the library wants you to be taking care of yourself, physically and mentally. We know how challenging this time is and how isolating it can be. So I want to encourage everyone to reach out however you can reach out to your family and friends, check on them. If you're not feeling great, talk to someone about how you're feeling. We want everybody to be healthy. And I know it's quite hard to remain healthy these days. We're up against a lot. So please do your best to take care of yourself and the people you love. The library misses you. We are open for an hour at a time, so you can come in, check out some books, say hi to the staff. We're happy to see you. And yeah, have a great weekend. And I will see you next week. Okay, bye-bye. Bye again as I bumble through the computer. Okay, bye-bye.